then it'll start kind of recording.
Cool.
Cool, so for the third time, this is the NWC Show, episode 39, and if you would like to introduce yourself.
Hello everyone watching, the third time lucky, I'm Alex Parker.
Man, I've never had somebody introduce herself 3 times, so yeah, it's a new experience.
We'll take it, do you know what I mean?
So obviously people haven't heard, because the live streams weren't working, haven't heard about how you got into wrestling. It was obviously you grew up in it, you had a big brother.
Yeah.
We'll just sum it up quickly and we'll move on, because we've heard the same story. The two have said the same thing and we can't continue saying the same thing to each other. We need to move on. So what was your kind of first day at training like? What was your kind of motivation to go there, and were you shitting yourself when you went? Because I remember turning up the first day and just being like, we can swear on this, so it's all right.
Right, okay,
I was going to ask, is it okay to swear? I was like, what am I asking for? It's my channel. But I was like, what the fuck are all these poor, tall, like looking scary looking guys are? But what was your first day like?
Well, me and my dad drove up. It was about an hour away, I think. We turned up. It goes in the door. There's a massive group of people all sitting, you know, speaking to our coach and whatever. So I goes in. The first day, I show up 2 hours late, right? Because I wasn't there to train the first day. I was there to kind of get to grips with the school. I was there to, you know, get my route there sorted, because it was a wee bit out of nowhere for me. You speak to everyone, speak to the coach and everything. But my first actual day of training, funnily enough, the person who welcomed me and taught me on my first day was actually Logan Smith, who now, however many years later, is my tag team partner. Do you know what I mean? So,
man, it's such a cool kind of story that you've got there. I remember my first day was like, I was going to do training. That was it. But I ended up going to the wrong place. I went to a freestyle wrestling, like Greco freestyle wrestling, and the guy beat the shit out of me for like 4 hours and was like, "Oh no, man, I know what school you want to go to. It's like, it's in the middle of nowhere." He took my cash from me, beat the shit out of me, but then that got me. I fell in love with MMA at the same time.
right.
Wrestling took kind of priority till I broke my neck, which everybody's known this story for the past 39 episodes. But I broke my neck, then I went back into MMA, like the silly person I am. But I fell in love with both of them at the same time, and that kind of led into what style I used, like the kind of more realistic based with like maybe a little bit using chairs and stuff like that, because I can't jump around the ring at all. Like you put me in a tap rope, I'm going to hit something and it's just going to be sore for both people. There's no point in trying it. But I always remember first day, I always like getting people's opinion on their first day, because it's always like a really nerve-wracking experience when you turn up, because you're like, am I just going to get leered, or is it like, are they going to like teach me how to be safe, or are they just going to beat the shit out of me for the first couple of weeks? So what's made you stay in it for so long? Like, obviously stay in it as long as you have. Are you deciding this is going to be your career, or you want to just use this as like a stepping stone to get into like a writing position or something like a graphics position? I know you do graphics design, but like get into like something like WWE or something like that.
I think I've always had some very like specific goals in wrestling that have been in my head since day one. You know, one of them was, you know, being on the WWE network. One of them working for ICW, working for the WWE. Do you know what I mean? Working for any of these kind of big companies, New Japan, anywhere. And it's really that's kept me going, and being able to say that I have met some of those goals just shows that, you know, they're realistic. Maybe I will meet my goals. Maybe I will, you know, keep going and be able to do this thing that I've been trying to do for the better part of my life.
Well, I think it's one of, you need to have goals in wrestling. There's a lot of people that we speak to, even on this kind of, on the podcast or personally, that just kind of, I would never do this, I don't want to do that. It's just like they go through life like just hoping something will happen. They don't really have goals. For me, when I first got into wrestling, that was it. I was going to go to WWE or TNA back then, because obviously, as we've said before, I'm established, I'm an old man. But I was like, I'm going to go to one of these companies that's like, that was my main goal, and that's all I've done. Every day, 7 days a week, I just went to train, practice, lift weights. That's all I ever used to do. because if you ever meet me in real life, I'm a very dedicated and competitive person. Like, if we were to run, which is the worst thing to do is to challenge me anything, because I'm very competitive, which is a funny story is I tore my calf muscle at the start of lockdown last year, playing What's the Time, Mr. Wolf with my little girl. She's trying to catch me, I jump over the couch, the calf muscle went. Obviously it was close to going anyway, if that's what it took it, but it was like a bit like a pure like parkour jump, like right over the thing, it went, and so it was a bit, most of the first part of lockdown was just me sitting around like in pain because I can't work out, but it was that's how competitive I know that it was a pure divergent of a story, but I'm one of those people that's like, you're like, oh, bet you can't do this, and it's like, oh, I see, we'll go see then. And like, I just don't like when that comes through my wrestling training, like when it was always bigger guys because I'm not that tall, and it was always more musclier guys because I wasn't that muscly. I was like the skinny guy, and I was always like, well, I can do this better than you, and it was just came for that period. Obviously, there's some things you can't do, like a big guy picking up somebody is a lot easier than like me, like 5'11", trying to like struggle and get somebody up. But that's just, if anybody ever wanted to know, I'm a really competitive arsey person. But so where do you see yourself in like that 10-year period? Because I've been checking out some of your stuff that you on Facebook, the kind of free matches you've been putting up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Logan shared some of your stuff as well, which you've had on before. Yeah. Really cool, man. I could see you being in like those top spots and stuff like that. Maybe not like WWE, because they'll just ruin you. They'll ruin everybody else. Hopefully they change in the next couple by the time that you'll be kind of reaching to there. But obviously don't you bury them, because the network stuff and that don't do it. I can do that. Nobody likes me anyway, so I'm alright. No, but you don't want them to ruin you. But where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself going to like Japan, or obviously you said you've got goals in WWE, but would you like to go travel to like Japan and stuff like that more, or would you rather see yourself just America?
I think obviously it's really hard to say, what the future holds for anyone, but I'd love to be able to travel doing wrestling. I'd love to travel Europe. I'd love to go across to Japan. I know China's got a big wrestling scene, across to America. Literally anywhere that'll take me, I'd love to go and wrestle there. Do you know what I mean? It's just something I'd love to do.
Man, I love the fact you brought up China there, because there's a ton of people don't realise that how grassroots wrestling's become. Like, the bigger companies, obviously don't bury yourself at this point either, but the bigger companies, for me personally, have lost touch with like what wrestling was. It's became too much like showbiz, or like it's became a little bit like it's not even for my kids. Don't watch it. I try and get them into it. I'm like, come on, watch this. It's good. But then I put on like the old stuff and I'll watch it. The grassroots movement, like I see in Scotland, wrestling's huge across the UK. Then you've got Europe, China, Japan, Mexico, India, Australia, New Zealand. Like these small promotions that were like nothing 10 years ago are really coming up and being something new, which is so cool to see. And obviously you're getting into it just at the makes me a wee bit jealous, because when I got into it there was SWA, and ICW was still doing like 4 or 5 people were coming to their show. So it was nobody back then. But it was cool seeing like guys like you coming up and getting opportunities that weren't there when I was there as well. I can't remember being like, the only place you can wrestle is like this company, and it was like if they didn't want you, that was it. And they always had their books full for like 2 years, and you're like, I'm not going to wait 2 years to like wrestle. So it was really hard. But nowadays, obviously, you can get you've got ICW, you've got chances to be on the network. You've however many Scottish professional wrestling places there is. It's insane. Like,
to be honest, there's so many.
That's why when I just say places, it sounds pretty bad, but I'm like, there's tons. You can't name them all. Like, there's literally, but it's good to see how many cool UK talent there is coming up at the minute. Like, there's just insane amounts of talent everywhere, and it's such a young group of people coming up as well, which is just going to be, next 10 years is going to be huge for professional wrestling everywhere, and hopefully the bigger companies realise that as well.
Yeah, definitely, hopefully.
Obviously no burying yourself and stuff like that. I can shout about them. You might not be able to shout about them, but I can do whatever I want. So, talking about today's product, what's something that you really like about wrestling today? Like, what's something that you're like, this makes me proud to be a wrestling fan or a wrestler today?
I think definitely the variety. There really is something that everybody can get behind. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like a safe space for anyone in the world. Like if someone's going through a tough time, or if they're sick of hearing stuff in the news, they can just switch on wrestling, sit back, and there's something for them to enjoy. Do you know what I mean? It really is something good.
Definitely, man. I think there's so many wrestling promotions, like we were just saying, that you can tune in, watch. You've got YouTube, Fight TV, you've got your WWE, AEW. Literally, there's endless. Amazon's even got OVW. You know what I mean? So there's endless amounts of content that you can tune in and enjoy. But I think that's one of my favourite things, is how much there is. But the opposite side of that is, what's something that you dislike about today's product?
I don't like the complaining, right? I don't like, everyone's got something to say about something. Do you know what I mean? If something's not for you, it's not for you. But there is that much of it now that you can take something from it. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to watch everything. You don't have to enjoy everything. But like, the flip side of that is frustrating. If you grew up watching WWE, to see it, if you feel like it's kind of fallen off recently or whatever, I can understand that it could definitely be frustrating.
I loved how you said that there, man. If you feel like that, like you are the man who's feeling
really
like that.
Watching my words, really.
No, but man, I get what you mean. The complaining sometimes, as obviously I've got a YouTube channel which reviews wrestling. My whole thing is to review wrestling. So, but I don't always say, if I don't like something, you might like it. That's the beauty of wrestling. The show is no meant to be. You're no meant to sit down and enjoy the whole show. You're meant to enjoy parts of it, because some of it's for kids, some of it's for guys, some of it's for women, some of it's for just all different groups, age ranges and stuff like that as well. You need to think about that when you book it. But that's what I hate about Twitter and stuff like that as well. They complain that, like, it's just like, just calm down. Like, it's just, if you don't like it, like, literally sometimes it's like, if you don't like it, just don't watch it. Yeah. Recently I've been shouting about Raw because I know you can't say anything, but the 3 hours for the past 3 weeks have been disastrous to watch. But that's to say the least. Sitting through 3 hours is just like, it's really hard recently. But I think it's mostly because I get up at 3 a.m. in the morning to go to the gym and work out. So then when I'm watching it, it's like 3 a.m. to like 6, and I'm exercising. So then I'm taking notes, and I'm like, that's just fucking shit. You know what I mean? But no, but you can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to appeal to kids, try to appeal to the wider market. They're obviously trying to sell it somewhere for like Disney or some shit like that. That's what I would be doing as well. Like, I'm going to sell it to the bigger company for billions. And I'm just a guy making YouTube videos that isn't making as much money as Vince McMahon. He obviously knows more than me about business. So if I was making as much as him, I would be doing the exact same thing. Like, how can we get these costs down as much as possible and put on the bare minimal product? That's what I would do. But I know you can't see anything, so sorry if I'm digging in a hole here. But
no,
I'll just blame it on me. It's all right. Doesn't bother me.
That reporter, man, made me say all these terrible things about WWE.
this guy, tell people it was me, because then I get more subscribers and stuff like that, which would be good. No, man, I think it's like you say, the complaining stuff is just so annoying. It's like, so when you go watch a wrestling show, if you're sitting there, you've got a beer or something, you're not going to start shouting at somebody in the ring. You're just enjoying it. Enjoy the work. Like, I'm not a big fan, and I don't know what kind of style of wrestling. That kind of questions come a bit later. I'm not a big fan of Daniel Bryan, but everybody loves him. Right. I like his in-ring work. I understand that he's a good wrestler. Right? That part of that comes as, obviously, I've trained and done it, but it's like, I understand he's a good wrestler. But overall, I don't like the guy. I just don't buy into it. I just can't buy into it at all. Like, see, like the WrestleMania when he was training Triple H and goes on and wins and stuff like that. Yeah. It just pure. I don't get it. Like, I'm just like, I get the underdog story. It works. I can buy the underdog story, but for me, I'm like, just does it have to be him? Like, he's a good wrestler. Or everybody recently has been saying William Regal is like one of their top wrestlers, which for me, he's a great worker in the ring. Like, he knows exactly what he's doing. He's been in a top position for a long time. But he's not. I wouldn't put him in like my top 50. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd be like, no, like, I'm not going to sit down and be like, oh, let's watch a William Regal match. But say that's the same kind of thing with Daniel Bryan. I know a lot of people don't like it, and when I say it, it's so funny to watch people like blow up in the comments and stuff, and they're like, how can you not like him? And I'm like, because I don't like him. You can go watch what you want. I like stuff that you're not going to like, you know what I mean? Which is pretty much the point. People need to relax and stop complaining about stuff. But I mean, sometimes you're like, you've got too much time in your hands. Why you? How can you complain so much about things I've got? Like work and kids and shit. I've not got time to start shouting about stuff. Exactly. But so with given obviously you're in ICW doing that kind of stuff, how have you been finding COVID? How have you been finding kind of having a like audience there and stuff like that as well? How have you been finding it?
Well, at first when COVID hit, I had some kind of bigger opportunities coming up, and a lot of them fell through really, and I was really kind of demotivated and stuff. I wasn't happy, but I took it as, you know, a bump in the road that I could come back from. And then when ICW said we're doing these tapings, do you want to come and be a part of them? I was like, fucking absolutely. Do you know what I mean? What? Obviously. Do you know what I mean? So I went to ICW, I did the tapings, and it's completely different. Do you know what I mean? There's no fans to feed off. There's cameras everywhere. It's a different environment. But now doing the tapings and stuff, absolutely love them. And I think it'll be weird to readjust once fans are back, to be honest. I think, you know, having that atmosphere again is going to be something really special.
100%, man. I think as well, exact same as you. But the minute fans come back, you're going to be like, this is so weird. Like, I'm just used to doing it in front of like cameras. Or, like, you've not had people there for so long. So when they're back, it's going to push people to put on like a great show as well, which is going to be fun. The best thing for me is I've got a ton of content I can go do. I can go to like promotions and be like, can I do a podcast in your ring and stuff like that? But it's really like, who do I reach out to? Because then people don't like each other. You know what wrestling's like. But I think it's so cool. Everybody says that they've learned a lot from like the camera work, like working in ICW. The guys we've had on, they're saying they've learned a ton from like how to work to the camera instead of from working to the audience, because that's something they might have not got. And obviously, again, at such a young age is going to be beneficial for you when those even bigger opportunities come up in the future, which is obviously hopefully going to be soon. So then I can be like, I've had this guy on. Look, but how do you feel like everybody that's been on the network? I always say that if it was me, I would. So I done the Thunderdome thing, and I was on the thing. So obviously, I didn't get a chance to wrestle for WWE when I was wrestling, which is always a gripe for me. But I was like, well, I've made it to WWE Network, even if it was just on like those wee TVs. I actually made it as a guy who started where I was, got there, even though I'm just sitting on the couch and thing. I shared that everywhere. What's it like being on it? Are you going to like sharing it everywhere? Are you showing like friends? And because I would literally have it everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Like anyone that'll listen, I'll be like, go and watch this. Here's a link. Here's whatever. Go and watch this. I'm on it. Do you know what I mean? Pay your $9.99.
Or you just kind of like show them like Austin or something, like somebody really cool. And it's John Cena. I don't know what are these young people like talk about. But so you're like something like John Cena, and then you're like, and there's me. Like, that's me. But I meant, how do you feel that the Scottish scene and the UK scene in general is coped with the COVID? I feel it's came back after obviously it took a hit, the kind of speaking out kind of stuff that started at the start of the 2020. I feel it took a big hit at that point, and then COVID on top of that, which is obviously like just putting you in the buzz, then putting you in the buzz when you're doing. You know what I mean, it's like two big hits. Do you feel it's going to come back even stronger, or do you feel that it might take a couple of years to keep putting those building blocks in place to make it better than what it was? Does that make sense? Am I just rambling on?
No, it does. It definitely does. I think there is a lot of work to be done. I think everyone's got their work cut out for them to make sure that Scottish and British wrestling can be the best it can possibly be. But I trust everyone to do that work, and I trust that British wrestling will, you know, be what it once was and what it always should have been. Do you know what I mean? And that's probably one of the biggest wrestling scenes in the world for me, anyway.
No, 100%, man. There was a huge point like in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s when it kind of started to lose itself a little bit. But there was then it kind of went away when they lost the TV deals and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
But it's been building back up slowly, and obviously coronavirus, the speaking out movement. No, there's anything bad with the speaking out movement. Just it kind of, bro. It had to be done. It had to be said. It had to.
Definitely.
It shone light on how to fix things.
Yeah.
But I think it, like you say, it's going to just keep getting stronger and stronger, and hopefully it gets away from that. Like, I'm not got. This is going to sound pure cheeky, but the caravan park style, like the family friendly, like the variety show. Like now, like if your mum and dad's here when you're younger and they're sitting watching those shitty Saturday night TV shows, and you're like, why are you watching this? This is terrible. But I hope it gets away from that kind of style. Like when they try to bring it back with the world of sport kind of stuff. I'm just burying my hole. I'm literally digging a hole for myself in it. But that you know what I mean? That kind of style of like, it was just like the kind of kid friendly stuff. What WWE's done, they're bringing it here, and it never works because it's two different styles of wrestling. You can't just bring the American style here because it doesn't really play. But I've pretty much just buried everybody that would ever want to speak to me. So I just keep it going. No, but I get what you're saying. Obviously, COVID, that kind of stuff, it's going to come back bigger. I think there's a lot of time to grow. For me, one of the best in the UK right now is ICW. You've got Respect Pro Wrestling as well, Target Pro Wrestling, which is in Carlisle. All these guys are doing like cool stuff, and they're like really leading from the front, and it's going to be fun to see. It's going to be fun for you guys as well that are younger and coming through. And as I said, I'm just jealous that I can't do it because I'm old and my neck still hurts. But so talking about wrestling, obviously we're here for that. What's a wrestler that you look up to or admire, or would you say is your favourite wrestler of all time?
For this question, if I was to name one, it would probably have to be Eddie Guerrero. I think the just complete natural charisma, like such an on-screen presence. Do you know what I mean? There was never a dull moment when Eddie Guerrero was on television. I think absolutely Eddie Guerrero has to be my favourite ever.
100%, man. I actually met Eddie Guerrero when I was in New York with my mum, and they were wrestling, but I didn't get tickets. But I was at a restaurant, and Eddie Guerrero was there, so I actually got to meet him, which was pure awkward because I was like, I'm not going to go up and talk to this guy. But she was like, well, just go up and talk to him, like just go. And he signed a thing for us and stuff like that as well, which I've still got to this day. Nicest guy I've ever met in my life, was just like genuinely nice. Obviously, he's in a restaurant with his family and stuff like that, and you don't want to talk to this Scottish boy when I had hair as well, which was different. It was like the reverse of what I've got to know. But it was cool. I loved every single thing. I remember the passing away stuff. It was such a shock. That's how old I am. But his matches were insane, man. I loved everything Eddie Guerrero does. I was a big fan of him. WCW. When I was older, I went back and watched his ECW stuff. Japan, everything. He was just such a natural talent. Like you can't be like, oh, there's one part of his career that it was like a lull. Everything was good, and he just constantly changed what he was doing, which was fun.
Yeah, no, from start to finish, everything Eddie did. Even like I couldn't name a bad Eddie Guerrero match. Like everything he did was perfect. It was fantastic. I don't think there'll ever be anyone better than Eddie Guerrero.
100%, man. I think the problem is as well with a lot of people that say like, oh, WWE are holding down like the Latin Americans, which I don't know if they are or they're not, but like everybody who's watched WWE for a long time, the Latin Americans are like Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, like those guys which are just insanely good. Do you know what I mean? They're not just good for being from like Mexico. They're just good in general, which is such a hard thing to try and explain to somebody as well. Like you can be a really good wrestler, but you're never going to be like an Eddie Guerrero or because the guys were just insanely good. But who would you say you base your style on? Is it something that you've if you took stuff from different people, or have you just kind of grew it yourself? What have you What have you done there?
Definitely. I think I started off really kind of unsure about my style was going to be, but over time, I started incorporating different things. I took some of the more kind of high flying stuff from Eddie, some of the more kind of high risk, really sore stuff from kind of Jeff Hardy and stuff, who I also grew up loving. But it really is just kind of a big mash of like all of my favourite wrestlers growing up and even today. Do you know what I mean?
100%, man. I think as well when you do start as well, it's you just kind of need to pick people that you've watched so that you enjoy watching their matches and you can start kind of studying what they do. For me, it was watching a lot of like Bret Hart, Sting, Raven, Vampiro, all those type of guys were kind of built what kind of style I was doing in the ring. Obviously, those guys are like vastly different in ring performers. I'm not like you can't be like Bret Hart and Vampiro are the same, but I took parts of it. I didn't take the like. Oh, let's just mash these two guys together. But what kind of event do you think is your favourite event of all? That can be one that you've been on if you want to be boastful. Or what's your favourite event of all time?
I think of all time, it's a wee bit out of left field, but it would have to be SummerSlam 2013. So obviously I had Bray Wyatt's debut. Bray Wyatt, who's now probably one of my favourite modern wrestlers. You had RVD versus Dean Ambrose, which was like weirdly really good. You had Lesnar and CM Punk, which was brilliant. Like, no one expected it to be, but it was fucking amazing. And then obviously the main event, I'm not sure you'll be so pleased about this one, but Cena and Bryan, I think, is probably one of my favourite matches ever.
No, come on, man. I get it's a good match. Like I can enjoy it. That's the worst thing as well. I can enjoy a match even if I don't relate with the character because I like Cena. Maybe know his later stuff. When I was younger, I went and got now the CD that he released. I got that at HMV in Glasgow. I don't know if you're from Glasgow, but the one at the bottom of the town, I went in. He was doing like signing stuff. I was literally there to get like TNA stuff, and was like it was in the way, and I was pure. Can I get by to get stuff? I was just being a pure dick about it, and then he was like, "Killed." It gave me like the HMV guy, whatever you call them, store staff. I don't know what they're called. They gave me my stuff, flipped it behind them. Then the John Cena was like, "Oh, take this tea," and I was probably like, "All right." I didn't know what I feel bad. But then later in life, I'm like, I've literally spoke to a fucking wrestler that I would shit myself if I spoke to the new. But I was like such a confident kid. No, like I would start shaking and stuff. Like, are you all right? And I'm sorry, sorry for what I say. It's like 20 years ago. But no, man, I think it's SummerSlam 2013 is probably a newer one compared to what we normally get. We always get WrestleMania 17. That's everybody's. That's the greatest pay-per-view of all time. But I've known at that time I was still just touching back into wrestling because when I broke my neck, I fell out of love with it. I was like, Disney love me, so I don't want to talk to it anymore. I don't ever want to talk to wrestling. I was like, when like somebody does something to you, and you're like, I don't even want to speak to you ever again. That's what I done to wrestling, so I was like being pure petty. But I missed SummerSlam 20. I've watched it now, but back then I didn't see that. And then I was like balls deep in it again for like 2014 onwards. But I just pure avoided it. I was like, no, I can't do this because I couldn't do it myself. I was like, I can't watch these guys in that ring. And then when it's like new guys coming up and stuff, I was pure, I guess that's not fair. I hate this. But so where do you see yourself going as an in-ring performer? Do you see yourself keeping the same style that you've got? Would you like to change, maybe do a little bit more technical stuff or the high-flying stuff? I know you say it's about you take Eddie Guerrero's high-flying stuff. I don't really class that as high-flying because I used to do something quite similar to that because the actual high-flying stuff, now the flippy shit, I can't do. Like if you put me in the top rope and ask me to like do like a 450 or something, I'd be like, what are you doing? Like I'm going to hurt myself. Like I really will hurt myself. But do you see yourself growing into maybe trying more flippy stuff, or do you see yourself like just where do you see yourself going? Does that make sense? Definitely. I feel like I've just asked questions. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I feel like definitely I'll evolve over time. Do you know what I mean? Whether that be if I pure beef up, become a big 250 pounder, flinging guys about. If I'm if I pure lean down and become a young buck style guy. But one thing I want to work on in ring now is definitely doing more tag team wrestling. Obviously in ICW I've got my tag team with Logan Smith, so definitely just getting all my tag stuff like technically sound is something I want to work on just now.
And obviously you've brought it up, so I'm going to ask about it. How are you finding tag team wrestling? Is it new? How are you finding working it? Because I always remember when I was doing it, it was because I went from just being myself, then I was in a tag team. Mind you, I was in a tag team with a guy that was like 7 feet, so it was a lot different. Like it was like it was like different to work, but it's quite a hard thing to learn if you've not done it for your career.
Yeah.
People that's not done wrestling won't understand what I'm trying to say, but like it's like when you've been in the ring just yourself, you're never worrying about when you need to go tag out or what, like the person there, how to work the person in the corner and stuff like that. Like you're just there doing your own stuff, like you're in the ring with just you and your opponent. But then when there's somebody's in the corner, you always need to try and think about that person, the person there and stuff like that. So
it's a whole fourth dimension to it, to be honest. It really is. Like there's a lot to kind of wrap your head around. There's a lot going on all the time, but it's something I've grown to absolutely love. Whenever I'm studying or going back and watching tapes or whatever, it's always tag matches that I'm watching now, whether it's from the 80s or kind of modern Motor City Machine Gun stuff. It's always something that I want to watch, and it is a bit different, but I definitely love it. Like it's something I want to keep doing.
But I thought you said like Motor City Machine Guns was from the 80s, and I was like, how old am I? But I get what you meant when you were saying that. No, I'm not a big fan of watching tag team wrestling, but when I like doing it, I think it's a lot more cooler when you do it as well, because it feels better than what it does to watch it. It makes sense to me. Hopefully it makes sense to anybody else who's watching this. I've buried myself, barely know what I'm talking about, so it doesn't matter. No, but I think it's cool. The only thing I hate about tag team wrestling is I feel it's too overexposed. You get too much no saying you guys. I'm not trying to bury you guys here, but like when you're watching the bigger companies, you've got the 8-man tags, 8-women tags, 6, and it's just constantly there. But the actual just core tag team division, like what you guys are doing just now, works really well. But when you hit out with like a 3-man, 8-man, whatever they want to do, 27, 10-man,
48-man tag matches.
It's like, why are you doing this? Why is there so many people around the side of the ring? But the literal core tag, just 2 guys and 2 women, being sexist, 2, whatever you want to call yourself in each corner, works really well. And it's something that's like a lost art at the minute as well. Hopefully you guys will bring it back. Yourself, Logan. Obviously, there's other guys in ICW, which they've got a really cool tag team division as well. And I think the UK as well, the style of British wrestling really works for a tag team, because you can have the high flyer and the technical wrestler. You can have like all these different guys pasted together that just makes it so much better than when they were in the ring themselves. And again, I'm not burying anybody. I think everybody's just going to watch this and be like, this guy hates us. I like wrestling, but I think it's cool what you guys are doing. I think getting young, because I feel tag teams are always a little bit older, like my age, 29, 30. Like it's if they've done their singles career, then they go, okay, I'll go in a tag team for a little bit till then they get into their like second stride, whatever, and then they go back to being singles. But you guys are young, because you're getting that tag team formed kind of critical point of your career, which is it something you're thinking you're going to take forward for a long time, or you're going to start shouting at each other?
I think it's definitely the plan for us to continue being a tag team in as many places as possible. I think we've really got something in ICW, and hopefully other companies see that and pick us up, and we can work everywhere as a tag team, to be honest.
Definitely, man. I think you have something that's like I know saying Untapped sounds like I'm trying to big you up, but like it's something different, because it's like these are younger guys. I know I keep saying that, but these are younger guys. You have got a ton of time in front of you as well to really perfect it, and you've actually obviously you're good in the ring. You know what you're doing. You're doing the ICW kind of stuff, and it brings a new kind of fresh face into you. You've got that kind of younger generation feel to you, and I enjoy the stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing you do a lot more tag team wrestling.
Yeah, sure.
And I'll be there with a t-shirt on. It'll be wee things. If you need to shout at me, you can do whatever you want. I mean, everybody's saying like, oh, when you come to a show, if they're a bad guy, I'm going to shout at you. And it's like, do what you want. It's I'm used to it. Just hit me if you want. I'm not interested. But I'll just sit there and have buried people, so it's fine. But I think it's a new aspect, especially in Scottish wrestling. A lot of time, I feel tag team wrestling just went away in Scottish wrestling for a while, and they just put anybody together just to kind of make that. But when I seen you guys coming up, like when I was talking to Logan as well, was really saying it's something that you are really focused on. You want to start to like make it like a thing. Plus, you could become the face of like NXT UK's this like insane like young tag team, which will be cool. Because then I can believe I've had them on my podcast. They were on mine before anybody else's. But aye, no man, I think it's cool what you are doing. Like, there's a lot of stuff that obviously you have a lot of time to learn as well, which is a cool thing. Yeah. And what do you think about wrestling being a lot of people my age? So I'm 29. I literally turned 30 on the 10th of June, which I'm shitting myself for. Mm-hmm. I'm in denial because I was 28 when lockdown started. Right. I turned 29, which was the most depressing birthday ever because I had to sit in the house with my kids teaching them maths. Like, and the whole reason this channel's here is because lockdown started, and I was like, I'm no sitting with my kids 24/7 teaching them like English and shit because no. But I've went off a tangent. So 2019, 29, I turned in lockdown, and then I literally was like, if I turn 30 in lockdown, this isn't going to be fair. But I still feel like 28 because I've no done like my. I was going to go travelling. I was going to Mania. I had a lot of business meetings and work that was like across the world. I was going to be, and then it just went away. And I'm like, I'm still like young. I mean, look at my passport. Like, that's not my real age. You know what I mean? But what do you feel about people getting into wrestling? Because I always tell people, no matter what age you are, you can restart your age, start whatever you do at any time. There's a lot of people at my age just now that are in jobs that they hate. Because a lot of people I went to school with reach out to me because I don't have a job. I'm self-employed. I do my own kind of thing because I hate working, and no hate. Obviously, people need to work in jobs and stuff like that. Yeah. I just hate when people tell me when I can go to the toilet and stuff like that, and it freaks me out because I'm like, no, I'd rather just do this in my jammies. I can make my money in my playing Xbox and stuff. But so, what would you say to people that are like a bit older getting back in? Because people that I know have fell away for love for wrestling. They've started watching, and I would love to go like train, maybe try and get a match. And I was like, just go. It doesn't matter. You're 8. Literally, wrestling's like, and for me, I would say it's all. Obviously, you're not going to go to WWE if you're 45. Unless you're a DDP who was 35 when he started. But what's your kind of take on that? Do you think anybody can come into wrestling and start throwing people around, or do you think it's a young man's game?
No, 100%. I think definitely whoever you are, however old you are, whatever you're doing, do you know what I mean? Definitely there's a place for you. And if you do feel like you want to start, you absolutely should. I think like anybody can, and there's no reason for you not to, because there's so many opportunities for anybody these days. And even if you're 45, somebody will take you on. Don't worry about it.
No, man, I think it's especially in my age, like a lot of people have just started to say, I don't know what your mindset for like life and stuff like that is, but for me, I think I have a weird mindset, partly because of wrestling, and it's just like I don't get why people would want to go work for somebody else. I don't get it. I've done it in the past, and it's no for me. But like I don't get people at my age and they're just like giving up. They're like, no, I'm 29. I'm not going to be able to do anything. It's like most people start shit at 29, 30, 31, 32. So I always kind of just, because I know there's a ton of people that are my age that were born in the 20th century, 1991, that are 30 this year, and they're like, oh shit, this is like the end. And I always keep saying to people, you've got a long life ahead of you. You can, like, this Diamond Dallas Page was 35. Like, you can go do anything at any age. Just wanted to get that in there, wee bit of positive attitude, because I've obviously just pretty much destroyed British wrestling and stuff for the past 40 minutes or something. But so what made you fall in love with tag team wrestling? What's obviously since you've gone back and watching it, what's the core aspects that made you fall in love with it? For me, I love the teamwork of it is obviously cool. Having somebody out there that's got your back and you can normally travel with the person that you're with, which is genuinely good, because me and my friend, I met my best friend through wrestling. We used to travel all the time, and the stories we have were just insane. Like, I've not really told the stories on here because I don't know if people would like to hear them. But personally, I'll send you a few of them. They're hilarious. But no, but what kind of attracts you to it? Is it just the kind of the team work of it, or is it the feeding style of it? What's your kind of...
I just think there's so much that you can do with it. Like, there's in a world where wrestling's been going on for so long and it feels like everything's been done a million times before, I feel like tag team wrestling is so untapped and there's so much that can be done with tag wrestling. You know, you can do a lot with 2 guys in the ring. You can do a shitload with 4 guys in the ring. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, man, if you think as well, over the past 20, 30 years, there's 10 tag teams that you can really name that made a difference in the business or really impactful. For me, obviously, that Attitude Era would need to be like Dudley Boys, Edge and Christian, Jeff Hardy, the Pitbulls, all this kind of stuff. Like, it's really like a small group of guys that really changed it. But when you get it, when there's that spark for a tag team, it's just insane. And that's something that, no try to biggies up or anything, but it's something that I think you guys have got. You've got like that, the look, style, and just that jigsaw puzzle that you just need to keep trying stuff. But I think you guys have definitely got something there which is going to be fun to watch you grow as well. And hopefully I'm not going to be that poor old guy that's like, they're like, oh, hey, look at yous. But so coming at the end of the podcast, man, there's one question we always ask everybody, and this is the one that I never send anybody, so that's why I say the list that I send, don't bother answering them, because we barred through that list of questions in like the first 15 minutes, so I've asked questions of like what I would like to know, so hopefully people have enjoyed this, otherwise it's going to be boring for them. But anyway, this one is the one that everybody either hums and haws it, or they've got their answer straight away. So I'll tell you what my answer is after I've asked it, is if you could replace somebody or add yourself to any match in history, what would it be? For me, I have 2. I would replace myself against Bret Hart versus Owen Hart, Blue Steel Cage match, SummerSlam 94. It's the greatest match of all time for me because I can watch it. I watched it last night as well. It's just so good. I'd replace Owen Hart just to go against Bret Hart, but only if I was as good as Owen Hart. Because I would probably balls it up because you can never be as good as Owen Hart. But then the second one would be Taker versus Kurt Angle, No Way Out 2006. I'd replace Taker to go against Angle, but only if I was the same size and as good as Taker. What would your one be? You can struggle to answer this one if you want, because I love when people are confused. And
you know, I think I've got one actually. I think I do have an answer for this. I'm going to go WrestleMania 12. I would replace Shawn Michaels in the main event against Bret Hart, and it'd be my boyhood dream coming true.
Man, I don't know why I've never picked that one. I always forget that one because the Bret Hart Owen Hart one is like so far up there. Yeah. But that's the first time anybody has ever picked that match. So
really,
you're standing out. Like, I don't know why nobody picks. A lot of people. It's Iron Man match, isn't it? I'm not just talking about my arse. That's fine. A lot of people don't like that one as well. Like, it's a really controversial topic. If just literally go into Twitter, there's feeds for it. Like, people are like, the start's good and the ending's good, but the middle's boring. And I'm like, it's literally an hour of a wrestling clinic. It's like such a insanely good match. Like, the whole thing is. There's when people always say, like, when Shawn Michaels is coming down, Bret Hart comes in, they have a little bit at the start, then there's nothing, and it's just the end. And I'm like, what are you talking? Like, you're missing out, like, the best chunk of it. The middle bit's the best bit. They too aren't the best bit. But I love that match as well, man. It's one of my favourites. I do think Bret Hart, maybe know his better self at the minute, but back then, I think he's one of the coolest wrestlers kind of going. And I don't know what your contracts with ICW, what you can't see or anything, but Bret Hart obviously moaning is hilarious at the minute. When you've probably seen the memes when he's like, oh, like, this guy shouldn't have done this and this guy shouldn't have done that. You're like, calm down, man. Just stop being so bad. But anyway, man, so thanks for being on the podcast. Like I say, I've pretty much just asked you questions I would like to know, because there's obviously a big age difference. So when I started wrestling to when you started it, the styles are 2 different things as well. When I was starting, it was a lot more like they'll try to look for hardcore wrestlers and stuff like that. So that's what I've done as well.
Yeah.
But obviously it's cool. Thanks for being on. Where would you like people to go check you? I've got your links for your Facebook, your Twitter, and Instagram. I've got your booking information and stuff below. In fact, instead of you telling people why you would like to go check them out because it's there, what match would you like somebody to go watch you? What would you recommend somebody go check you out in?
If you've got the WWE Network, go on there, watch all the matches. They're all great. No, I'm joking. Watch myself versus Leighton Buzzard. That's definitely one of my favourite matches. I'm very, very proud of it. If you've got time in the day to watch one of my matches, please do make it that one.
Definitely, I checked that one out last night. It's really cool. And obviously, WWE Network, $9.99. If they want to sponsor me, please come along. I'll sell whatever you want. I'll see you've got the best show on TV if you just pass me some money. But it's cool having you on. It's cool getting such a young guy in like Scottish wrestling scene. You and Logan as well are becoming two of my favourite wrestlers to watch at the minute.
Yeah, cheers.
But my kids are actually starting to like your stuff, which they're enjoying ICW, so that's going to be.
Yeah,
you'll probably be a big fan. I can take my kids along and be like, "Oh, look, that's a guy who I was talking to." But man, thanks for being on. I'll share this out and stuff like that as well. If you wait there, I'll end the podcast and I'll tell you when this will go up and all that kind of stuff.
Cheers.